This whole video will be concentrated on, first of all, my experience as an EP in Delhi. Some of the things I noticed that I feel like you guys can definitely take into consideration for next year. And all of it will be definitely focused on quality, because as a VP OGX, I found that throughout my year, quality was the thing that we all became focused on striving for, and I'm really glad that Raghav is really focused on this aspect of being an LCP, because obviously, as you guys know, quantity goes hand in hand with quality, and the only way we're going to be able to increase our numbers is by providing quality experiences, and that's what we all want anyways, to provide quality experiences. So first of all, talking about my experience, so I was working on Project Oran last year with all the interns. There was about 15 of them, and I guess one of the most valuable things that I took out of my experience was the fact that the leaders, such as Raghav and Adiraj, were really trying to pull out my leadership potential. What I really believe is that the project was a perfect kind of balance of not only the spontaneity of Delhi, the unexpectedness of doing a DCDP project, but also they gave the interns something to fully engage with, to explore their creativity, and to be kind of independent in a way. We were allowed to develop our own plans. We were allowed to be experiencing culture shock at the same time, because we had time to just time to relax, accompanied with time to really focus on how we could be a leader. And that's what I really valued, is that they were making an effort to find the potential in us so that we could explore it. And many other projects I felt like didn't have that focus. They weren't focused on helping the interns themselves realize how they could become leaders, realize how they could explore their potential, and how they could be creative in a different environment. Possibly some projects have changed and have improved in that way, but if we're looking to truly impact the interns that we want to bring into our country, we have to realize that the process of them going on an internship is also included in helping them develop as a leader. And if we forget that we need to focus on as well their strengths and their weaknesses and help them develop as a person, then we're kind of losing the value of our internships. So what happened is that I left the internship with a whole new perspective of how I could be a leader. And the best part, actually, of that internship was at the beginning, when I was approached by the AIESEC members, and they told me that I was somehow the captain of Project Oran for the first few weeks, because they saw the potential in me. So that's just something to think about when you're bringing your interns into your country. Really focus on what their goals are, what their personal and professional goals are. Think of them as a whole person experiencing culture shock, experiencing the need to feel creative, the need to put their energy into something valuable, and to see the outcome. The last event that we had at Project Oran was the place where I actually got to see and witness the outcome of all the work that not only the AIESEC members were doing, but also that we were having with the kids that we were working with. If you guys can find times and places to show that to your interns, to make them feel like they're doing something valuable and impactful, it'll make all the difference for them in the long run. And hopefully what we're striving for is to give them that integrated experience where they're not only just going on the internship, but they're engaging in AIESEC as a member, they're engaging in AIESEC as a leader. So that being said, that's kind of what led me to wanting to become VP OGX this year, and luckily I got it, because being VP OGX is freaking awesome, even though it's kind of a huge headache and really crazy. But yeah, that's how my internship taught me that I did have the potential, and that's what internships should be focusing on, especially GCDP. Of course, GIP is somewhat of a different story, but at the same time, the leadership potential is still there. The engagement is still there. Each EP still has to feel like they have the potential to give to society, the potential to feel engaged and feel like they're doing meaningful work. That obviously is going to vary between every single job description, but that's why we have to focus on who the person is. What is the person's personality? How are they going to feel fulfilled in the type of work that they're doing? So when you're creating your matches, you're not only thinking about getting the numbers, I hope. In your interview process, you're thinking about asking them the appropriate questions to give them the reality of India, to give them the reality of how that specific internship is going to match their personality, is going to help them grow. Anytime you step into an interview, anytime you have that initial one-on-one talk with them, really try and think about what they're going to gain in their internship and whether or not they're going to gain the appropriate thing that matches their goals. Okay. So what I would like to talk about next is some of the things I noticed on my internship that I feel like could possibly improve the quality of the intern experience in your LC. So a few things. I know that Raghav already talked to me about this, but the job descriptions need to match what the actual reality of the job is. Not only large things like a general description of the job, but things like the time that they're going to be working each day, the amount that they're going to be getting paid is so crucial to knowing, because the job description is essentially a contract. And when they read this, they perceive it as a contract and they're reading it as though this is what they're going to get. No way around it. If it's not the case that the job description matches what they're going to be doing, then you need to set their expectations right in the interview. You need to tell them exactly what they're going to be doing. And if it's going to change, then give them that perspective, because we all know that things don't roll out as we expect them to do in India or in many other countries. So you need to make sure that the EP understands that before they get there, because if they don't understand that and they sign the contract and they get to the country and say the job description is off in any way, their expectations will not be fulfilled and they will be extremely upset, extremely frustrated, and all of their anger is probably going to go out on Isaac, and you guys are there first, so on Delhi. So that's job descriptions of both GCDP and GIP. I know that before I went on my internship, my expectations for my internship were different, but luckily I was able to adapt to the country thanks to many different people. But that's another story. So the second thing that I noticed is that there was not the possibility of providing the quality experience to each and every single EP, because the number of EPs that you guys are bringing in does not match your capacity to impact them the way you want to. Not only in terms of housing, in terms of the projects, but also in terms of one-on-one engagement, which I think is so crucial. If at the end of my internship, I was able to sit down with Adiraj and talk about what I learned, but it was me reaching out to him that did this. And obviously, you want EPs to take active participation, but at the same time, we want to help them grow. So if you guys can give more personal talks, more personal development, that would be amazing. Thinking about what your capacity is to bring in the appropriate amount of interns. A huge amount of feedback that I always get about India is that they take in too many interns. The living situations are terrible because interns don't even have a place to sleep when they get there. And also their internships don't end up working out. These are huge things, because when you sign up with Isaac to go on an internship, those are the basic necessities that you should be getting. You should be getting everything that's in your job description. You should be getting the housing, at least a little space that's on your own so that you can kind of experience culture shock as a human being. It's extremely difficult to go to India in an unknown place. They just need a little bit of breathing room. I'm not saying a huge amount of tangible space to throw around all their stuff, just a bed and the knowledge of the TN manager that the EP is there, the knowledge that they are comfortable in some sort of way. And that's so essential. That's another piece of feedback that I would consistently get. The fact that the TN managers sometimes wouldn't even know that the EP had arrived in the country. And a lot of countries at home are telling their EPs that the LC out there is going to support you. The LC out there is going to take you in and integrate you into the culture, integrate you into Isaac. So if they're given that expectation for months before they leave, if nobody changes it before they get to the country, then somehow you guys have to cater to it or reset their expectations as soon as possible. So you have chances to do that in email or in interviews or in follow-ups before they leave. And if they get there, then make sure someone is accountable for their experience. Make sure you have someone in charge of assuring that they do arrive at their house, that they do feel comfortable, that they do have some sort of safety network, either it being interns who are already there or just someone who is able to help them out with their culture shock. I don't know if it's possible for you to perceive this in the same way I do, but from people going into India and people who have never experienced, say, a developing country before, it's going to be extremely shocking. And that's the majority of the reason probably why people get so angry and frustrated, because they're going through all this confusion with where they are, why they're there alone, and that's the feelings they're going to get. They're going to feel alone, they're going to feel shocked. It's a different story for every person. I mean, I didn't really experience culture shock, which is kind of cool, but you guys found out that my personality really matched India, so if you guys are able to find those people, then freaking get them to India, because they will absolutely love it. Basically, housing, job description, making sure that they know where to get food even is so important. I know a part of the experience is getting thrown into the culture, but things like that, things like the necessities, are things that our EPs are going to feel angry about, and the things that they feel they are entitled to, and it's true. So they need to have the comfort in knowing that they can get safe food, because they're going to get sick if they don't. They have a place to stay, a bed, somewhere comfortable. Someone is accountable for them. They know that their job is going to be starting at some point. If it's not going to be starting, we need to be completely honest with them. Don't keep pushing it back, saying that, oh, we think it's going to start in a week. They want to have some sort of time frame so that they know they're going to start putting their energy into something useful. And if they're not, then you need to find them something to put their energy into. Because, as I told you, it's really hard to experience culture shock, possibly to not have interns who are there to support you, and to not have a job to put your energy into that's fulfilling. All these factors are just going to make someone crazy and make possibly a Facebook group that is going to be extremely full of hateful messages, which is terrible. So I'm hoping these are guidelines that'll actually help you avoid scenarios like that and help improve the EP experience.
I'm starting to film. Hey everybody at Delhi. We are now in the Isaac office. Ooh. As you can see, it's very plain and little, but you know, oh well. It's the work that counts. So yeah, I have some of my directors here who are going to tell you about their experiences as EPs who both went to Delhi. You might recognize them if you're in the room. And a little bit about some best case practices that we do to help you guys improve. Yay. Okay. I can't fit you guys all into the picture, so I'm just going to kind of like focus on one of you at a time.
I'm going to go first.
Okay,
Hi, my name's Katie Potter, and I currently am an EP manager. But this past summer, I was an EP in Delhi working on Project Castaway. There was a lot of like really awesome things about my internship, and there's a lot of like not so awesome things. I had a great working relationship with a lot of people within ISAC-DU, and I had a lot of really great friends. And I'm not going to list everybody's name just because that seems a bit excessive, but they're a wonderful support system for me, and ultimately they made my internship, and that helped me create a lot of contacts outside of ISAC and people in the community, which was amazing. The few like problems would be per se like I had a very large dose of culture shock, and it was hard for me because my TM manager wasn't available to help support me through that. I lucked out that I had the other ISAC members to definitely help me through that, and I definitely have them to thank for that. So I have Kazuma and how did I do this again?
Oh my god.
Ashmi,
come
I'm
on.
so bad. Lovely Ashmi, I love him so much. So Ashmi and Kazuma definitely picked me up and helped me deal with life, which was fantastic. And Adaraj and Ajitesh were both brilliant people and helped me out. And it was fantastic, and I really appreciated everything they did for me. The one main problem that I would say is I definitely had a lot of problems with housing. Most specifically is we had bed bugs in my house. And our bed bugs were so bad that, like, you could see them on top of your beds. Like, you moved your pillow, and there they were, your little black friends, and it was just like, hi, and, like, there's, like, these little black bugs just, like, chilling everywhere. That was really bad. I didn't mean it to be like that. We need to edit this. But, it was great. Not great. So. I'm just getting nervous now because I just screwed up so hard.
It's okay.
These little bugs were just like everywhere, and the problem was like I didn't have a like reaction to them, probably because I bathed in bug spray. But my roommates like had like reaction to them. Their skin swelled and they had like welts and they had to go to the hospital. It was not a good scene. But the problem was like we had been constantly telling people that we had problems with bed bugs, and they just like never addressed it. And it got to the point where like you could visibly see them all over your beds, and that's like horrific. And then we were still told to go to sleep that night in our beds with the bugs that you could see. And it's just like problem, like that's just like not acceptable on any levels. Eventually, like, Adaraj came to the rescue, rolled in, and was like, you're gonna go stay at the other house, which was fantastic. So, like, we did the move at midnight, and off we went to the other house, but, like, it was horrible, because there's people, like, that had to go to the hospital, had to take time off work, had to pay for prescriptions, and then we were blamed for it, too, which was something else, because we don't really have bed bugs, and nor would the bed bugs survive a 20-hour flight at that altitude. But
yeah. So remember when we were kind of talking about like potential solutions, like the fact that it was the fact that we were communicating with Delhi Stay that was like the big issue, is that they never considered to like, contact the TN manager, right?
Yeah, they never like took our concerns as valid, which I think I understand that like a lot of people just complain for the sake of complaining because they don't like it. And, like, I understand that living in an intern house is all part of the process, and it's definitely one of the most exciting parts of the process. That I loved my intern house. So, like, obviously there's problems that are going to come up just living with 10 people and just, like, definitely being in India. It's a different kind of culture, different, like, standards. Totally get that. Awesome. Just, bed bugs are just, like, just a bit too much. And just, like, it's because we were talking with Delhi Stay, and then they had to, like, try and communicate with ISAC-DU. So it's, like, they had the contract between Delhi Stay and ISAC-DU, and then we were talking to Delhi Stay, and they weren't talking to us. But it was just like this, like the triangle never really connected. All three weren't talking. It was either like this way or this way, but never like all three parties were involved, and it just like created a lot of conflict and a lot of animosity, definitely between the interns, ISAC-DU, and Delhi Stay. I know, like my house was in charge of the revolt. I know that. I like to play Peacekeeper, but I think we all remember my house. Yay, A43.
So what were some reasons, though, that they revolted? Like, what would you say from their perspective, what kind of pushed them to the edge in terms of, like, Deli Stay and maybe Isaac? Do you?
It's, a lot of it was just because, they didn't feel like they were being heard, and I think that's was the key problem. There was a lot of, like, little problems, and it just ended up with, like, they just ended up melting down because they did not feel like their concerns were being, like, validated, or, like, people were taking them, considering what their problems were, which is, like, everyone was just like, yeah, put a Band-Aid on it, you're great, but, like, that wasn't the problem. Like short-term fixes weren't helping, they were just making it worse because the problem would just come back the next day. And so I think, like, actually, like, sitting down and addressing the problems, like, long-term, coming up with long-term solutions is definitely what's going to be better. Instead of just being, like, a quick fix, the quick fix isn't going to help. It needs to, like, the backup plan needs to be there for these problems that arise, and, like, when the AC goes down, what are you going to do? Like, when bed bugs come, what are you going to do?
So what would be an example of, like, a long-term solution, do you think? Like, what do you think would make it change for it to be sustainable, like, even the next day?
Even the next day? I think, definitely looking at different housing options is maybe a long-term solution that will be beneficial. Or maybe even just that, the contract isn't between Deli Stay and Isaac DU. That is between Deli Stay and the individuals. Because then the individual will have more power in the relationship. Because they are kind of like, they don't have any say in what's happening. And there's no, like, they're not on an equal playing field. It's definitely, like, Deli Stays up here and the EPs are just kind of down here hoping for the best, fingers crossed. So I think giving them, like, the leverage to actually be held, like, have their voice weighed properly would probably help.
Cool. So what about your internship? Is there anything you want to give feedback on for your actual internship itself?
For my internship, I loved the NGO I worked for. I loved them. They were sweethearts. Yay. I worked for the National Campaign on Dalit Human Rights, which was amazing. Like, the things that they do and the work that they do is incredible. The problem with my internship was I was an Isaac initiative. So I was an Isaac intern. I wasn't one of their normal interns. So, like, they didn't really, like, because I didn't have appropriate communication between, like, my TN manager and myself, and, like, my TN manager and the person in charge of me, Bina, at the NGO. So it's kind of like this triangle thing again. It's just, like, we weren't talking. So, like, the NGO didn't know what to do with me. I didn't know what to do with me. And so, like, they were just kind of unsure. So eventually it just got to the point where we were just like, well, forget about Isaac for a second. And then I just did whatever I wanted to. And, like, I spoke a lot to Adiraj about it, and he kind of was like, do an art show or do something like that. And it was, like, really awesome because I ended up doing that. We did a art showing at Kuzart Lane, doing all Dalit artwork, which it ended up being really, really cool. But I only did that in the last, like, 2.5 weeks of my internship. That's what I worked on. So I had, like, a lot of time in the middle where I just kind of sat there and was like,
yeah,
I don't really know what to do. I watched a lot of movies, but I did go to the office every day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, one of the ideas that I was kind of thinking that I forget if I talked about yet, but was that for the TN managers and, like, whoever is in charge of the job description to actually go to the work environment and figure out what it's like. What is their day-to-day environment going to be like? What is the trek between the living and the house, so that they actually have answers to give to the EP when they're in the interview. They actually can validate what they're like. You're, like, awkwardly looking at the camera.
I don't know where I'm supposed to look right now.
I don't know where, because I can't, my arm doesn't stretch far enough to show my face. But I think it would be, like, really, really good if the TN manager actually went to the job and knew what the EP was getting themselves into, and were able to say that, because the reality is if the job description doesn't match what we tell them, then it's going to be a bad show. Okay,
but
somebody
yeah,
would like
overall,
to speak.
I loved India and I want to go back so far, so don't take my criticisms harshly. It's not meant that way.
Or do. No, I'm joking.
Oh, well, yes.
Make a change.
It's a big problem. Make changes, but I loved it. Don't worry.
Okay. Jenny.
Hi. I was also an intern at Deli the past summer.
And what do you do now?
Currently, I'm the incoming VP OTX for Isaac Ottawa. Yay.
Bro.
So, My experience in Delhi was really rough.
Sorry, Tassie.
Some of the biggest concerns I had involved my living situation. And I can definitely attest to what Katie said, that I didn't feel like my concerns were heard. I tried to contact people at DU lots of times, and basically people just kept telling me like, oh, we're working on it, but basically nothing happened. Like, no one did anything, and in the end I actually just ended up coming home early because I couldn't stand it anymore. So my advice to you guys as far as fixing the housing situation goes is separate from Delhi Stay, because they really don't have the best intentions towards the interns. They really don't care about what the interns' living situation is like. I would suggest that you guys also take the time to visit the living quarters before you put interns in there, because I felt kind of upset when I found out that many of the people within Delhi, like DU, had never actually seen a Delhi Stay living quarter, and I thought that was kind of weird that you guys were putting us in there, yet you guys would never visit it yourself, or you guys would never live in that kind of environment yourself, so it seems unfair that you would expect us to be able to do it. The other thing is that I think you guys really need to, when you're talking to interns, consider the communication differences, like the cultural differences, because I know that a lot of the time when I would speak to you guys about my concerns, you guys would not really take me seriously, because I think that's maybe the norm there. Like, it's okay for you guys to just dismiss things because it doesn't really seem serious until I like yell or something like that. But you guys have to understand that people coming from Western cultures, we are like a low context culture. If I tell you what my concerns are, it's because it's a real serious concern. It's not because I just need something to talk about. Like, it's because I'm really upset and I don't want to have to be rude to get my point across. I just want you guys to take it as it is and just understand what I'm trying to tell you right off the bat. Yeah, the other thing I would say is definitely also consider where your interns come from when you're setting up housing situations. Like, I think most interns would need air conditioning because we're not accustomed to that kind of weather. We're not accustomed to the heat, and I think it's pretty unrealistic to expect interns from colder climates to adjust to the air condition, like to the heat with no air conditioning, when you guys yourselves are from India, and I know that you guys would never live without air conditioning, and yet you guys would expect us to. That seems really unfair. So I would say I think that should be provided, and you guys should also explain to interns the costs involved with the housing, because it wasn't really clear to me what the housing was going to be like.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like finances I think is huge, because like a lot of our experience depends on how much we can budget, and like when we budget for a certain amount according to the job description, then that's what we expect, and like we can't get out of that because we're in that country, right?
Yeah, especially considering that my internship didn't involve any kind of reimbursement at all. I didn't get housing covered, I didn't get food covered. So when I realized that I got there, that I also had to pay a lot of money for things like air conditioning, which to me is considered kind of necessary if it's like 50 degrees Celsius outside. Like, I'm from Canada, we don't have that here. Yeah, it was just kind of upsetting for me because I don't have like money growing on trees, you know. Yeah. The other thing was, as far as my actual internship goes, is that actually fell through, which is it goes back to communication too, because again, my internship wasn't working out. What I thought I would be doing at my internship, I was interning at the Indian Cancer Society, didn't really turn out to be what I was doing, and also the people at the Cancer Society were extremely rude and extremely mean, and kind of like I wasn't expecting to go there and be like verbally abused by my work situation, especially considering nothing was paid for by them. So when I tried to communicate to you guys the problems with my internship, I would have liked if you guys could have helped me, like provided me with different options for like maybe I could have done like a different project, or especially considering they weren't giving me any kind of money, I could have easily moved to different projects.
So that kind of goes in again to having like that crisis management plan or some kind of like backup, because we all know that things change really quickly in India, and like an internship could fall through and it might not be Delhi's fault, but we need to have some kind of process
Yeah.
set out so that not only the EP knows that they're putting in their efforts and stuff like that, but that there is something actually being done, because that's what we have at Isaac Canada too. We have like a crisis management plan when things don't work out abroad. We have like a 2-week period where we do a set of goals to reach and objectives, and if we don't meet them, then we still know that we put our best foot forward to try and like resolve the problem.
Yeah, because I don't feel like there was any kind of, I felt kind of like the attitude towards my problems, like, yeah, you guys kept saying, oh, we're going to work on it, but like to me that was a no, kind of like in the sense like you're on your own, kind of get over it a bit. And like the thing you guys kept saying to me was like, oh, well, this is India. And like, yeah, this is India, but on the other hand, like, you guys live in better conditions. You guys wouldn't take the kind of stuff that I was expected to take, and I know that for sure because the other DU associate members that were working on my project all quit their jobs as well, so I know that that wasn't up to your standards any more than it was up to mine. And the other thing to consider is that EPs pay a lot to go on internship, and it's really disappointing when it doesn't work out. And I feel like you guys should be maybe considering that more, because it really doesn't matter whose fault it is. What matters is trying to give an EP the best experience possible, and I think that's kind of an attitude adjustment on your part that you guys should make an effort to change.
Cool. Awesome. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something important, I think. But I was gonna just say, I don't know who to point at when I'm talking. I was just gonna say, I can't reach my face. Okay. Anyways, okay. Well, I just wanted to say, like, one of the things that I really valued in my internship, which everyone should think about doing, is that when everyone had concerns in our project, even though it kind of took a little bit of time to get there, Raghav actually sat us all down and let us all voice our opinions one by one about what needed to change, and he took note of it. So we all felt like he was making an effort to find a solution for us, and I think it did start to get better for a lot of the people who were having issues because Raghav sat us down, and they started to feel a little bit lighter, like a weight was being taken off their shoulders. But I was thinking that maybe if in the crisis management thing you guys had like a day a week where all the interns could kind of get together and voice their concerns and voice like any type of issue that they have, and also to kind of bond with the Isaac members themselves and with each other. That would just be really awesome. Does Tasneem have anything to say? Tasneem went to China.
Oh, Isaac, DU?
DU. Delhi.
As the person who prepares EPs to go abroad and in OPS, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I'm just listening to the stories of the other people in this room. I'm awestruck by the concerns that I'm hearing, because when I went to China, like, these types of things weren't experienced by the interns that went abroad. So I suggest not only just accept the feedback, take it like from the EPs that went to Isaac DU, but also contact other Isaac local chapters that are have good ratings, have that EPs provide positive feedback about, and ask them like why are the EPs satisfied with the experiences that they have with those Isaac LCs.
That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure.
Excellent idea. Someone want to
Cool.
talk to them about Jaipur?
Jaipur.
So we have partnership with Jaipur. We like Jaipur.
I could say some
Oh, I can
closing
ask
stuff.
Ali Reza when he gets here. Okay, what did you want to say?
Okay, so basically, I really hope that you guys will resolve all these issues. I know that things can never be perfect, but we can at least strive to give interns the best experience possible. As the incoming VP OGX, it's important to me that you guys resolve these issues, because if this is the kind of experience that I know EPs might have when they're going to Delhi, I don't really feel comfortable sending EPs there at this time. So I'm really hoping that you guys can make strides to solve these things, because I know that you guys are all really passionate about Isaac. So I'm hoping you guys can take that passion and work towards like completing some of these goals that I think you guys really do want to achieve. I really do think you guys want to achieve good internships. So hoping to see that in the future.
Yay. Okay,
Yay.
are we done?
I had a very good experience when I was in Brazil. The LC was a big part in helping me out and helping me adapt to the culture. I think the biggest strength they had as an LC was that they had a very good buddy system. The buddies were really motivated to take care of their EPs, and they did a lot of work showing them around and helping them get adjusted to stuff. And as well, I've heard about problems in Delhi about too many people being there, and in Brazil there wasn't this problem. In Brazil they have a lot of TNs, but they kept the number at a minimum, which was really good because they had enough people to handle it.
Did
and
they
never had problems.
Did they do this on purpose, or was it an issue with matching? Was it?
No, I don't think it was on purpose, Jacqueline. I think they just knew their own capacity, and they made sure that they had the right amount of EPs to take care of. And as well, they had a very good quality control team that would take care of events and stuff like that and make sure that EPs were having the best time.
So what types of events?
Well, for example, there was one night when we went to a samba club to experience the beauty and allure of samba. And it was very fun.
Was there any, so how did they facilitate your cultural learning, I guess?
Very good question. Well,
Oh, God.
every week they would hold Portuguese lessons for us, as well as having Brazilian culture lessons intertwined with the Portuguese lessons. So every week we would go and socialize with the other EPs, as well as watch movies dealing with Brazilian culture.
Actually?
Yes, we
Cool.
did. It was very awesome.
Ali Reza, and I'm currently working here in Isaac Areva, but I was also an intern back in Isaac Joint Tour last year. One of the main problems that local chapters in India particularly have is the issue of quality, especially when it comes to GCDP. And you guys right now focus and emphasize more on the numbers rather than seeing if you have the means to provide the actual quality for those numbers that you bring to the India. So I strongly suggest that you should, before having any forecasting for the numbers for the next upcoming years, you should definitely try to see that you can actually provide the accommodation and other kinds of services to this kind of people, and then based on the quantity that you want to have and specify, then try to target that number of people as EPs. Yeah.
So like establishing the capacity for quality before
Yes, precisely.
coming up with your numbers.
Yes.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. So, but what would you suggest they do in order to do that? Like, what would help them develop the capacity for?
Okay, for example, I heard that like in Delhi, there are during the summers they are usually bring around 200 people, and given the number of the people that locals that they have over there, providing quantity to 300 people is just too much. Therefore, they should either have to decrease that number, or they should have a higher number of local EPs. I mean, the local Isaacers back in Delhi.
Yeah.
And try to give them and try to train them more.
Yeah.
In a sense.
So matching the knowledge and the numbers of the Isaacers in the local chapter
Yes.
to the EPs who are coming in.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense. Yay, thank you. Say bye.
Hi, Isaac New Delhi. I'm Constance. I'm the current LCP of Isaac Ottawa for 2012. So Jackie, my VP OGX, asked me to
share a few insight on quality and I guess the LC in general. So this year, we really try to improve quality in terms of finding the right EPs to send abroad and matching the right expectations. So in terms of sending students abroad, we really wanted to, make sure that we were recruiting the right people and making sure that we were able to find them the right internships. So for OGX, we really improved our quality by going to specific faculties and things like that. Throughout my term as a leader, I think quality kind of comes down to two bigger pictures. I mean, first is, do you want quality to improve or increase results, or do you want quality to maintain a successful sustainability in terms of your final numbers? I think you have to take both into considerations when you're running an LC for sure, and you have to find a balance in between quality and quantity as well. So a lot of the things that we've heard from an outside perspective from EPs who have been going abroad and aren't satisfied with the quality is, the expectations is set wrong. And while we set the minimum type of expectations and recruit the certain type of EPs to go abroad, they're still not getting that minimum expectation met when they do go abroad. So maybe one thing to improve on this is an increased communication between the two LCs. Maybe finding out the type of EPs that are being brought into your LC before they're coming in or before they're being matched to your LC. And you could do, maybe pre-arrival preparations and making sure that their expectations are in the right places and focusing on what they need before they arrive and making sure that the EP is matched to the correct internship. Because on paper, we see that it's perfect, but maybe you see from a different angle, right? And then also, I think it would be a really good idea to have more EPs from your LC that do go abroad to come back and become one of the members in the ICX portfolio, so that they have more empathy towards bringing students in and can kind of relate to them better when you are bringing EPs from other countries into your LC. So good luck with your year. I hope I gave you enough advice or insight in regards to quality for your LC. And you guys will have a really, really amazing year as long as, you listen and you enjoy your year and have fun. And I know you crazy Indian people do anyway. So I'll talk to you guys later.
Hey Delhi, so I'm hoping that everything that was said was extremely useful. You got to hear different perspectives from EPs who went to Delhi, from myself, from the LCP, and also from people on my quality control team and people who went to other LCs such as Brazil. And as they said, it is really useful to get information from LCs maybe in Brazil or China or places that are getting positive feedback in order to kind of implement them in your LC as well. So I'm just going to kind of recap what was said and also to kind of give you more potential documents or more ideas of ways that you can track the experiences of your EPs. So going off of what was all said, I see three really essential components of what was said. First of all, the accountability of the EPs, always having that constant communication between the TN manager and possibly the quality control team or crisis management team if you plan to implement that. And also always meeting the minimum standards or requirements, as in living, job description, food, pay, and those, just so that the EP is safe and the EP is getting their minimum requirements in their internship. So just to expand a little bit on what was said about the quality control team, so obviously there is the idea of having that understanding of the EP's strengths and weaknesses, their personal and professional goals, keeping it documented so that you can track it from before they leave, during their internship, and even after they leave their internship, such as how I was able to talk to Raghav and Ashmead about the way I have developed throughout my internship, which is really, really valuable. And also in the reception packages, making it more in-depth and relevant to the culture, to your culture, giving the reality of your culture, the reality of the living and everything like that. Furthermore, there's definitely the idea of making sure that your members of the quality control team or of anyone who's working with the EPs have an in-depth knowledge of the exchange participant policies, of ways that they can improve the EP experiences. And also, one thing that we really try to follow is called the house model. It's in one of the documents in the exchange participant policy that I'll send to you guys so you can look over and learn from. And another thing that we try to implement is having an EP manager and also a QC member assigned to EPs. If you were to have that in the incoming side, then a quality control member could really concentrate on the personal and professional development and the goals and the internship and the follow-ups of your EPs. So maybe assigning a certain amount of EPs to a quality control member would be really helpful. And what we do, we actually track those in documents. We have an EP experience catalog, which tracks all of the follow-ups of the EPs, and we also have an EP quality control manual. We have a lot of manuals, which you will see, hoping to be used by the members and by the EPs who we do send away. And that would be great for your members to also have to help them in the process of developing and making sure that the EPs are safe and having the good quality experience. So another thing I talked about was obviously having the appropriate amount of space and experiences for culture shock. One thing that I thought of was possibly having culture shock seminars on a weekly basis, having some sort of area where the interns could learn from each other's cultures, making it a cultural focused event to improve their sensitivity and flexibility to all the experiences that are going around them in India, and definitely learning from you guys and how you guys cope with Indian culture yourselves. And finally, obviously, I know that the Exchange Plus leadership experience is really valuable to you and is really valuable to Raghav as a leader, because I know he saw it in me and he really took some value out of that. And that's why I value it as well, because I've lived through it and I know how impactful Experience Plus leadership is. So that's what all this should encompass, an overall leadership in your exchange. And I've talked about it all throughout, and other people have talked about it as well, but it is extremely important because the numbers don't matter at all. 450 or however many exchanges you plan to do don't matter if there isn't quality in their internship. If there is, then the 450 will multiply, because that person is going to go out and start to impact other people's lives, such as I did by engaging the EPs all throughout their experience, focusing on how I could personally and professionally develop them. And then they came back, and the majority of EPs actually integrated themselves into my chapter and helped our chapter overall strive for quality, because their knowledge and their expertise and their experiences are so essential. And as you saw, VPs have gone on exchange in our LC. All of my directors went on GCDPs. And that's because I put in the constant effort to think about their personal experience, improve their quality experience, so that they could work on improving the quality experiences of other people. So that's the value that quality exchanges have, and those are some really cool initiatives that I hope you guys can implement. And I do propose to Raghav and your EB that you guys set up a seed for me to come there so I can help you guys reach these goals and reach these initiatives. And I swear I will be super awesome and never complain and be the best seed you will ever have. So that's my little promotion at the end. Hope to see you guys in India. See ya.